We have now created over 2 million jobs in total since I took office. More jobs than ever been created in the first 4 months of any presidency in modern history. Triple the rate of my predecessor, 8 times the rate of President Reagan. The unemployment rate is now below 6% for the first time since the pandemic hit. In short, this is progress, historic progress. Progress that's pulling our economy out of the worst crisis it's been in 100 years.
President Biden there just a few minutes ago taking credit for today's jobs report, which shows hiring is up last month over the awful numbers we saw in April, although it still falls short. The unemployment rate also fell to a new pandemic low of 5.8%. However, businesses are struggling mightily to find workers. As of March, there were more than 8 million unfilled jobs nationwide, the most in more than 2 decades. 15 million Americans are still getting state or federal unemployment benefits, but the president's labor secretary, Marty Walsh, told Fox Business today, don't blame jobless aid for the worker shortage. Watch.
I think this report shows that the unemployment benefit is not necessarily keeping people out of the workforce. What it's doing is supporting families that are still out of work.
Forbes Media CEO and Editor-in-Chief Steve Forbes is here to break it all down. Always great to have you on the program. Steve, I want to start with the jobs numbers, and what you really see are the facts there. And I understand when unemployment is down, it means fewer people are looking for work. So there's some hidden meaning there. Break it down for us.
Well, what you see is, and you mentioned that 8 million job openings, is that there are a lot of people who are still getting more in benefits than they are by going back into the workforce. That emergency measure was appropriate in the spring of last year. Whenever millions of people are suddenly thrown out of work, you wanted to throw everything at it to help alleviate the crisis. But clearly, the pandemic, thankfully, is receding. And so what you have now is a benefit from the federal government that is keeping millions of people out of the workforce. And that's why 25 states are going to put this program on the expire list before the end of this month. And the latest one is Maryland, which is a blue state. It does have a Republican governor, but he's to the left of the party. But the situation is so acute that even he, in a blue state, is saying we got to stop these extra payments because it's distorting the labor market. Now, there are other factors at work, such as school closings, but the $300 a week so-called bonus is the biggest one, and the sooner they get rid of it, that'll help alleviate this critical labor shortage.
Well, you mentioned the Maryland governor, and I want to mention the Michigan governor, because she's going in a complete different direction. Gretchen Whitmer is proposing a plan, Steve, to allow people to work part-time and still keep their unemployment benefits. She said this yesterday. Let's watch together.
We want to make sure that we are giving people all of the incentives to get back to work so that they can take care of themselves and their families and not forego other opportunities that can help them get back on their feet. So you see a lot of states just kind of taking away help for people who are struggling. We don't think that's, makes a lot of sense in this environment.
So she's going to let people double dip? Is that what that is, or am I missing it?
No, it's exactly what it is, and it's part of a lot of Democrats, unfortunately, want to find ways, backdoor ways, to either have a national minimum wage or a universal basic income. And so this idea that you're going to pay a lot of money, they figure that forces businesses to raise wages artificially. What that ends up doing is hurting businesses, raising prices, less money for investment to expand those businesses, which means less future productivity, which means a lower standard of living than we would have had otherwise. Very, very basic. And so you just compare the blue states versus the red states in terms of employment, in terms of economic growth. The states that are opening, the states that are having positive incentives there are doing far better than the states that are doing what, sadly, Michigan is continuing to do, and that is unnecessarily lag in terms of recovery.
Wow, you broke it down. Real quickly, inflation, it seems to be runaway. Will it curb itself, or does it need help? Real quickly.
It needs help in terms of don't put on new taxes and regulations. Let this work it out. And the other thing is the Federal Reserve shouldn't be ready to print a lot of new money. That'll get us what we had back in the 70s when we had stagnation in the economy and rising prices. Fed's got to behave itself. We'll see if it's capable of doing it.
And fabulous bell-bottom jeans, which I wouldn't mind just not the rest of what you said. Steve Forbes, good to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you, Harris.